The world watched as US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin met in Anchorage, Alaska. Their 2.5-hour summit focused on the war in Ukraine, but ended without concrete agreements. Both leaders called the talks productive, yet the path to peace remains uncertain and fraught with obstacles. Hopes for a breakthrough faded as deep divisions became clear. Trump had previously threatened Russia with consequences if a ceasefire wasn't reached, but after the summit, his tone shifted, raising concerns among Ukraine's allies. The outcome has put pressure on the next diplomatic steps, especially as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky prepares for his own critical meeting at the White House. The Alaska summit has created a new, uncertain diplomatic landscape for Ukraine. Zelensky now faces the challenge of navigating this landscape, carrying his nation's hopes to Washington. Meanwhile, the war raged on. The night of the summit, Russia launched a massive attack on Ukraine, killing 4 civilians. This act of aggression during peace talks sent a disturbing message about Russia's intentions. It underscored the brutal reality on the ground and cast doubt on Russia's commitment to peace. For many, these actions spoke louder than any diplomatic words. The summit, rather than resolving tensions, highlighted the urgent need for real solutions. As the world looks to Washington, the stakes for Ukraine have never been higher. The next round of talks could determine the future of the conflict. The international community is watching closely, hoping for progress but bracing for setbacks. The war's human cost continues to mount, even as leaders debate peace. The Alaska summit was just the beginning of a much longer diplomatic struggle. The question now, can diplomacy succeed where force has failed? For President Zelensky, peace starts with a complete ceasefire. No negotiations while bombs are falling. He sees a ceasefire as a test of Russia's sincerity, not just a pause for more attacks. Zelensky refuses to surrender any Ukrainian territory, especially in the Donbas where so many have fought and died. He believes giving up land would only invite more aggression. Ukraine's territorial integrity is non-negotiable. Zelensky insists Ukraine must be at the table for any talks about its future. He calls for a trilateral summit with the US and Russia, demanding Ukraine's voice be central. Security guarantees from the US and Europe are essential. Ukraine needs real protection, not empty promises. Another urgent demand: the return of over 35,000 Ukrainian children taken by Russia from occupied territories. Zelensky wants their immediate return, making it clear that peace is about reuniting families as much as restoring borders. Even US First Lady Melania Trump has urged Putin to return the children. For Ukraine, peace means both security and justice. President Trump has shifted US policy, now pushing for a comprehensive peace treaty before any ceasefire. He argues that ceasefires are fragile and often broken, so a final deal is the only way to end the war. This approach aligns more with Russia's position and has surprised America's European allies. Trump's supporters see this as a bold move to break the stalemate and end US involvement. Critics warn it could pressure Ukraine into an unfair deal and reward Russian aggression. Zelensky now faces the risk of being forced into a deal that undermines Ukraine's sovereignty. Trump's earlier threats of sanctions against Russia have faded, replaced by talk of a grand bargain. The stakes are high. If Trump's gamble works, he could end a major European war. If not, it could fracture alliances and weaken Ukraine. The credibility of American leadership is on the line. Ukraine's future, and the balance of power in Europe, hangs in the balance. The world is watching to see if this new strategy brings peace or peril. For Zelensky, the pressure has never been greater. Russia's peace terms demand a heavy price from Ukraine. Putin wants Ukraine to withdraw from the entire Donbas region, ceding vast territory to Russian control. In exchange, Russia offers to freeze the front lines in the south, locking in its gains. Russia also insists Ukraine reduce its military and abandon its NATO ambitions, demanding permanent neutrality. For many Ukrainians, these terms feel like surrender, not negotiation. Putin's team has tried to undermine Zelensky's legitimacy, calling for new elections before talks. Russia prefers to negotiate with the US, sidelining Ukraine from decisions about its own fate. The Kremlin is betting that Western desire for peace will pressure Ukraine into accepting these terms. By refusing a ceasefire and setting high demands, Russia tests the resolve of Ukraine and its allies. The stakes: Ukraine's sovereignty and the future of European security. European leaders have responded to America's new approach with unity and caution. Germany, France, the UK, Italy, Finland, and Poland coordinated a joint statement. Ukraine must not be pressured into a bad deal. They insist Ukraine's full participation in any negotiations and reject any change of borders by force. Europe is clear: no peace built on the violation of Ukraine's sovereignty. European nations are open to providing NATO-style security guarantees, but stress these must have strong US backing. Proposals include a reassurance force in Ukraine, but only with American support. President Zelensky's recent meeting with the UK's Prime Minister underscored Europe's unwavering support. The timing, just before the Alaska summit, sent a clear message to Moscow and Washington. As the US explores new diplomacy, Europe stands firm with Ukraine. This solidarity gives Zelensky crucial leverage as he heads to Washington. For Ukrainians, distant diplomatic talks feel disconnected from daily life under fire. The war's toll is relentless: more fighting, more loss, more destruction. Ukrainian forces recently repelled a major Russian advance in Donetsk, but victory comes at a high cost. Many Ukrainians fear being pressured into a deal that betrays those who have sacrificed everything. Zelensky faces intense pressure. He cannot accept a peace his people see as surrender. In the US, Trump supporters want an end to the war, but not at the cost of rewarding Putin. Many in Congress remain wary of any deal that appears to appease Russia. The ongoing violence makes Zelensky's demand for a ceasefire first resonate even more with his people. Continued Russian attacks are seen as proof of bad faith. For Ukrainians, peace must be real. An end to the violence, not just words on paper. Only then can they begin to rebuild their lives. The human cost of delay is measured in lives lost every day. The world's decisions are felt most by those on the front lines. President Zelensky heads to Washington carrying the hopes and fears of his nation. His meeting with President Trump could define Ukraine's future. Zelensky faces the risk of being handed a pre-negotiated deal by Trump and Putin. He could be seen as either the peacemaker or the obstacle, depending on his response. Rejecting a US-backed plan risks losing vital support. Accepting a bad deal risks his legitimacy at home. Zelensky will urge Trump to distrust Putin's promises, pointing to increased Russian attacks as evidence of bad faith. The main obstacles: Russia's demand for territorial concessions and the need for ironclad security guarantees. Zelensky must hold firm on these points while keeping diplomacy alive. The outcome will shape not just Ukraine's fate but the credibility of Western alliances. The stakes are personal and national. Zelensky must balance both. The world is watching to see if he can protect Ukraine's interests. The burden of leadership has never been heavier. The White House meeting between Zelensky and Trump is a pivotal moment. Zelensky must maintain US support without betraying Ukraine's core principles. Trump's push for a grand peace treaty puts Zelensky under intense scrutiny. The world will judge whether he accepts or rejects the deal on offer. European leaders' united support gives Zelensky leverage, reminding Washington that peace requires broad consensus. This solidarity strengthens his hand against pressure for quick concessions. The meeting will test the US-Ukraine alliance. Is it built on shared values or shifting interests? Zelensky's goal is to keep the US as a steadfast partner in Ukraine's fight for freedom. He'll argue that a strong, independent Ukraine serves American interests too. The outcome will reveal whether diplomacy can deliver real security or just a fragile truce. The world is watching, and the stakes could not be higher. Zelensky's choices will echo far beyond the White House. The future of Ukraine and Europe hangs in the balance. The path to peace in Ukraine is uncertain and perilous. The outcome of Zelensky's meeting in Washington could mean a just resolution or a bitter compromise. Ukraine's very existence as a sovereign nation is at stake. A bad deal could leave Ukraine weaker and vulnerable. Continued war means more suffering. The world hopes Zelensky can persuade Trump to stand firm on no territorial concessions. Only patience and international unity can keep hope for a just peace alive. If Ukraine is forced to accept Russia's terms, it could destabilize the region and embolden aggressors. True peace requires courage, wisdom, and steadfast support from allies. The world watches, hoping for a breakthrough that brings real security and justice to Ukraine. The burden of this hope now rests on the talks in Washington.